Hi, Patty Durrell, the CEO of Rock Solid Fitness and licensed physical therapist assistant, here to share with you a tip. One of my favorite things to do is to help my friends and family and people I love improve their health and fitness through strength training. And my brother Hank, who I adore, often will ask me questions about strength training, and he lives in Connecticut, so we text back and forth a lot. And he just asked me what I thought about planks. I told him that I thought planks were great if you needed to get better at performing a plank. Otherwise, I really didn't see much need for them in an exercise strength training routine. And he asked me why, and I said, well, I think there's a better way to strengthen your core muscles, which is why most people do planks, and a plank can be really rough on your shoulders. And so I am really particular about shoulders and safety in general. At Rock Solid Fitness, we say, is the risk worth the reward? And if the answer is no on any level, we just don't do that exercise and we find a different way to perform a strength training activity or exercise for that muscle group. So he said, what would you do instead? And I said, well, an abdominal crunch. And he said, well, I hear abdominal crunches are bad for you. So I'm gonna give you a tip today on planks, and my next tip is going to be on abdominal crunches and why they're not bad for you. So the shoulder joint is made up mostly of your humerus, bones, and your acromion. Of course, the scapula is attached to that acromion, but we're going to only talk about the humerus and the acromion. This long bone right here is your humerus. The shelf of where that ball sits, the socket as we refer to it, the top of that is called your acromion. And in between those two structures are soft tissue structures, specifically your bicep tendon and your rotator cuff tendons, which often are the culprits for shoulder pain. Where our acromion can either be a nice kind of rounded acromion, or we could be born with one that's maybe a little bit more flat, or we could be born with one that has like a sharp angle on it. A nice curvy round one, kind of roundish one, is the kind the shoulder joint loves. But we don't get to decide, and most of us don't even know which type we have inside unless we've had an x-ray done. So is the risk worth the reward? No, because as you're putting all this pressure on your long bone in a plank position, the soft tissue structures between that can be getting too much pressure. And if they have too much pressure, they start to become inflamed. And an inflammation is an itis, I-T-I-S. If you get a diagnosis with I-T-I-S on the end of it, it's an inflammation. So if you have bicep tendonitis, rotator cuff tendonitis, that's inflammation of those soft tissue structures in your shoulder joint. So we would rather protect that than put it at a risk for injury. I'll show you what I mean. But I do know that doing a plank does provide an isometric contraction, meaning a muscle is contracting but not moving joints through a range of motion for your abdominal muscles, your back muscles, your glute muscles, your quad muscles, your hamstring muscles, your upper body muscles. It's providing an isometric contraction for a lot of muscles, not just your core muscles. So why not do something better than a plank to strengthen your core muscles so that you're not putting your shoulders at a risk for injury like I'm gonna do right now. Like coming down. Now this is, hard work to keep myself like this, but I'm also taking that humerus bone and jamming it into my acromion, therefore potentially injuring some of my soft tissue structures. So that is your tip on planks today. I hope that made sense to you. Now, if you're in a plank contest and you got a lot of money rolling on it, you're gonna wanna practice the plank to win. But just know your shoulders might be compromised. Thank you.